Let's turn a problem into an idea.
If you're hearing our voices, that means it's time for It's This Meets That podcast, where we watch the worst movies from trailer to end credits. Scene by scene, so you don't have to, but maybe you should. I'm Russ.
I'm Jared.
That's what we do here, turning stuff into ideas, right?
That's right. Turn problems into ideas.
Yeah, that's right. Here's a problem
Specifically.
into an idea.
That's right. It's ITMT Industries, the idea factory.
That's right. That's what we do. You got a problem, we'll turn it into an idea. All right, so we're back. We're back with a full breakdown of Accidental Love 2015.
Unfortunately.
Satire rom-com something or other, whatever it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, there was some rom, there was some com.
Yeah, there was some satire.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Total mess of a movie. Want to recap us on this if people missed Trailer Trash?
I'll tell you what it's about.
Go check it out.
Yeah, go listen to Trailer Trash if you didn't. But if you don't want to do that, just for the sake of this one log line, I'll give you the rundown. So a small town waitress gets a nail accidentally lodged in her head, causing unpredictable behavior that leads her to Washington, D.C., where sparks fly when she meets a clueless young senator who takes up her cause. But what happens when love interferes with what you stand for? In retrospect, I don't think this is a good description.
I mean, the first part, waitress gets a nail accidentally lodged in her head.
That happened.
Unpredictable behavior leads her to Washington, D.C. I think that's about it.
Yeah. There wasn't much. I don't think there's really love here. And
no.
Nobody really stood for anything.
Not really. Yeah.
But yeah.
Weird choices made for this one. But how do we do with our expectations? I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
I think I set it up as a Slim Man. What was that movie we did with Jessica Biel?
Oh yeah, the Slim Man. Yeah,
right, the slender man, the tall man, the tall slender man.
That's right. You had Jessica Biel eventually kidnapping kids,
yes, and shipping them to Canada because there's a better healthcare system up there. Right. That's what it was. Yeah,
that's right. Yep, delivering them to rich people with healthcare.
She doesn't really do that, but she should have. But she doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, and so many good opportunities too. She's like way more exposure to kids than I think we thought originally.
Yes.
In terms of like, she's basically camping with Girl Scouts for.
That's true. That's true. She could have. She could have kidnapped all of them and sent them to Canada. I've been like, hey, guess what?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Good shipment.
They like your kind up there, as we'll discover what this movie leads into. Trash talking the Girl Scouts, but the Girl Squaws. So there.
Right. Yeah, that's what they do instead.
Yeah. All right, quick info on this. So this is gonna be fun. So this was directed by David O. Russell, who I feel like, I mean, I've never met the man, but I feel like he's kind of an asshole.
I can imagine that. I mean, I didn't see I Heart Huckabees or Silver Linings Playbook, but
okay, he did The Fighter.
Did you?
He's done. Yeah, I've seen both of those. Okay. Good movies. He did The Fighter. He did Three Kings. Like, he's done a lot of good movies. I Heart Huckabees though. Did you see the whole clip like that came out years ago where he was screaming at Lily Tomlin on set? It was like one of the early moments of people like filming someone on set and like totally flipping out.
No, that sounds awful.
Yeah, he was just a complete jerk, at least according to the clip. But I wasn't
interesting.
You don't.
Well, the thing that I thought was interesting was that he super disowned this movie.
100%. Which we caught this when we were watching the trailer and we saw the credits and was like, wait a second. I thought this was directed by David O. Russell, but it's listed on the credits at the end of the trailer as Stephen Green. Which is the old.
It's a classic Alan Smithy situation. Yeah.
Disavow, disown.
Which, listeners, apparently directors do that if they don't like the movie. It used to just be everyone is Alan Smithy. Now, apparently, you can just pick whatever you want as some fake name.
Yeah. I wonder now if on IMDb, if you click on, Stephen Green's not a listed name. Okay.
Exactly. That's how they get you.
I see what you've done there. All right. So screenwriters. So Kristen Gore, daughter of Al Gore.
Yep.
Okay.
And the one who wrote the book.
Author of the book, Sammy's Hill. She did work on Futurama and the Beanie Bubble too.
Yeah. Sammy's Hill is the book that this movie is based on.
Yeah. Yes. And then,
for the listeners. And then, Futurama, she's done like 30 episodes of Futurama, apparently. Weirdly.
Okay.
And the Beanie Bubble, which looks good. It looks interesting anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of spoofy documentary. It's not a documentary, but dramatized. I feel like those have been coming into vogue lately. Like there was that one about the Hot Cheetos guy. That was like a dramatized version of a true story.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Anyway.
And there's 2 other screenwriters here. Well, the story is by her, but she didn't do anything with the screenplay, right? These 2 guys did.
Oh, no, she wrote the screenplay too, I guess.
Oh, she did. So all 3
guys did more to it.
So we got Matt Silverstein and Dave Jesser, who seem like they're kind of like a duo, but lots of TV stuff drawn together, Solar Opposites, Cleveland Show. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yeah, which is like also mostly good stuff. Like I like all 3 of those shows for the most part. Yeah,
and you can kind of sense the humor they were going for in the movie, but the way the movie was just put together was a mess. But I could see these shows that they've worked on, like, I can see kind of flavors of that coming through. But
yeah, and I'm wondering like how much of the dialogue was like ripped from the book, because like the dialogue was generally also bad, I thought.
Yeah, and just we'll get into the fast facts about the director situation.
Yep.
So who's in this? We got Jessica Biel, friend of the pod. She plays Alice Eckel. Got James Marsden, who plays Scott. We got Jake Gyllenhaal, plays Howard Birdwell. Catherine Keener plays Rep Pam Hendrickson. Kurt Fuller plays Reverend Norm. Tracy Morgan plays Keyshawn. David Ramsey as Rep Bill Harshtone. Which one was he?
He was the one who was like kind of just being there in the side with every scene that Catherine Keener was in.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and also like the one who wasn't Pee-wee.
Okay. And then Paul Reubens, R.I.P., plays Edwin, and then Mert Hatfield plays Elkman. So got to cover your Elkman.
That's right. I think there's a few uncredited Elkmen too. But Mert gets the credit.
Someday we'll get credit as Elkman.
Lead Elkman.
So production, some numbers here. Worldwide, it made $135,436. Is that right? Am I reading that correctly?
That's right. That's correct. There's no extra zeros there.
And that's split between Lebanon, UK, and or just some portions of it, like.
No, split between the 2 of them. So to be fair, it did have a super limited release in only Lebanon and UK. So like,
yeah. Okay.
All right. I can get by on not doing what's that, like 34 fanatics, 35 fanatics.
Yeah. Oh, I know what one of our other prognostications too was that basically Big Pharma wins, and probably in this, Oh
yeah.
Clearly.
They did. They did win.
They did win. Yeah. They always win.
Yes.
So this was $0 domestic, and this is all done on a budget of $26 million.
Too much, and that's $26 million in
USD
2008 bucks, which we'll get to why there's a huge discrepancy there. And
oh my god,
when this movie came out,
that's so ridiculous. So $26 million. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and in Rotten Tomatoes, 8% critics, 15% audience. Woof.
Yeah, everyone knew. Yeah. Don't watch this.
Okay. All right, just moving right along. Fast facts. So you pulled these mostly together. Do you want to go through them, or do you want me to? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'll go for it, I guess.
Fast fact me, Daddy.
Nailed it. I'm slightly more familiar with them because unless you read them ahead of time.
Yeah, I kind of did, but
okay. Well, fair enough. So speaking of that 2008 to 2015 discrepancy, apparently part of this was because production shut down like constantly while they were working on it initially. They just like kept running out of money. Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Biel walked off the set because they couldn't pay the cast. Like it was a whole thing.
Wow.
So they had to like prove that they had the money in like a union mandated account for the Screen Actors Guild, and
wow,
like everybody was like this turned into a shit show.
Wow.
So no wonder it was kind of shelved. So like they filmed it. They did film it despite all of the shutdown. And then they just kind of like abandoned it relatively quickly. So David O. Russell, the director, left it in 2010, like entirely. Like he was just like,
I'm out.
No one's paying for this. Why am I here?
So it shut down again in 2008 and then was going to pick back up in July 2010, but he was just like, nah.
Exactly. Yeah. He was like, no, screw that. Like, call me Stephen Green.
Yeah. I'm out.
I'm out. And so after that, David Bergstein stepped in and finished the rest of the film
in 2011.
Right. A year later.
Jesus. And 3 years after initial production.
Yep. And apparently didn't tell anyone in the cast that he was going to start doing some screenings, and like, he's like, yeah, it's finished. It's finished, right?
Oh my God.
So, and then apparently after that 2011 test screening, like, again, got just like put on the shelf because everyone's like, this movie sucks. Like, read the tape, read the room, right? No one wants to see it.
Yep.
So the movie gets filmed in 2008. The whole movie, which we'll get into a ton here, is about healthcare and how like emergency healthcare should be
supposed to be a satire on the healthcare system and whatnot. So a lot of the jokes in there are tuned that way, and just the inept government officials in Congress and stuff like this, of people not worrying about the people, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Exactly. And like the biggest sticking point of the healthcare critique in the movie is like about how emergency healthcare should be like, you should be able to walk into an emergency room if you have an emergency and get help with it if you don't have insurance, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like the whole premise. So by the time they put the movie out in 2015, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act was out, where you can get emergency help. You can walk into an emergency room, and if you don't have insurance, they will help you. Makes the whole film entirely irrelevant.
Irrelevant. Yep.
Yeah. So like, great work. Like, still, you didn't have to put it out. Like all of that happened before they were decided to release this. So I guess that's when they did a bunch of like
pivoted.
Exactly. Pivoting all the marketing materials, not marketing. They didn't really market it either, but it was like, oh no, it's not really political satire. That's just like a bonus on it. It's mostly a rom-com.
Which
what?
Not really. I mean, no.
Yeah, it's not. No. So then I get some more traditional fast facts. So we wanted to talk about the making of the movie and how it ended up so bad.
Yeah.
So in the opening credits, there's an ice cream truck driving down a street in small town Indiana, is supposed to be, right? Actually filmed in New Milford, Connecticut.
Hey, New Milford,
Connecticut guy.
Yeah, that's somewhere around there, Connecticut.
Yeah. But even better is that it's not even original film. They borrowed it from Mr. Deeds.
The remake of Mr. Deeds in 2002 with Adam Sandler. Yeah. Was that right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's right. I think that's the more popular Mr. Deeds.
I mean, yes, yeah.
But still, what the fuck?
Wow.
Right? Amazing. We'll just borrow like 3 or 4 minutes of footage from Mr. Deeds and roll it in.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's good.
So apparently, speaking of the issues with shooting earlier, Jessica Biel and Tracy Morgan's contracts both explicitly had like reshoot clauses in them that would not involve David or Russell for whatever reason, because it went that badly.
Jesus. But you imagine that though. So they started shooting in 2008. If they did any reshoots like 3 years later, they're still under contract actually to be there and show up and do it.
Presumably, right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is absurd. So I like this one, and maybe leads to another movie we're going to do sooner or later. But Lindsay Lohan apparently was originally kind of she auditioned for it and apparently was the favorite for the role for a bit, for Jessica Biel's role.
Okay.
And then for whatever reason, there's lots of things that can happen. She backed out, and Jessica Biel got cast, and the rest is history. So.
But her doing that role in 2008, was that before the Lohan days where things got a little crazy with her, like publicly?
I think it was right around when that was kind of starting to happen.
Starting to amp up.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was like a wild card. Like, she definitely did a few more movies in that period, but like
she would have been fine. I think she would have been fine in the role.
I think maybe better than Jessica Biel, honestly. And I love Jessica Biel, but I think this is not a role for her.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I think Ryan Reynolds was considered for Jake Gyllenhaal's role, which also would have turned this movie into a
completely different movie.
Right?
Yeah, definitely would have.
And maybe made it better. I think a Lindsay Lohan, Ryan Reynolds might have been that's an interesting combo. I'm on board with that. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then I had to throw in one stupid one. Scott, James Marsden, his character, talks about Oakleys a lot in this movie.
I hate this already.
James Marsden has previously worn Oakleys in the X-Men films.
Oh no!
Has another character named Scott.
Oh God! You're doing so well. Why would you end on that?
Yeah, as is tradition. Got to include one to make you mad.
All right. That's good stuff, though. Man, and all of the mess that we were just describing is completely seen in the movie. Like the way it's shot is very strange. You kind of get what they're trying to do, but it doesn't come through at all, and it's just a total mess. And it's like, what is happening? There's no good transition from scene to scene. It's like, that makes sense. So like, if this other director just picks up and just like cobbled the shit together, now I can see it because. Wow, that makes sense.
Yep. So, it all makes sense.
It all comes together now. Okay.
This movie sucks. What can you do,
All right. Well, do you want to Hollywood pitch me, motherfucker?
Yeah, sure. So, mine is, I kind of doubled down on healthcare here. It's obviously John Q meets famous healthcare movie Saw 6.
Emergency healthcare sausage.
That's right.
John Q. Denzel Washington, which I don't think I've seen. Right?
That's right. Okay. Critically panned, but I thought it's really good. Like Denzel Washington's performance is excellent.
I mean, come on, it's Denzel. I mean,
right? It's what you expect.
I don't think we'll ever be on this. I don't think we'll ever do a movie with him in it because No.
But we could do John Q. It meets our criteria.
Oh, it does. It's actually.
Yeah, I think it's like 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that. Like
I don't think I
critically panned because it's very heavy-handedly beating you over healthcare criticism.
Okay.
Just like this movie. So, and also kind of like this movie, I think it's somewhat misdirected. Like in this movie, they focus on at first the hospital and the doctors as being the ones who are stopping this from happening, stopping the procedures from happening. And then later in the movie, kind of focus on like, well, the government should make it a thing.
Right.
In John Q, also like weirdly, it's like targeted at the doctors more than anyone. Like in the movie, kind of the hatred is like, oh, well, one of the doctors was, could get some extra bonuses from the drug companies if he did some extra diagnostic tests, but they didn't catch the disease that the kid had soon enough, and that's why he now needs an emergency operation, and it's a whole thing.
Okay.
So John Q, it's an emergency operation. Kid needs it. He can't get it. They both start kind of reasonably. So like in John Q, they start doing like fundraisers, and they're like, how do we make this work? Just like in this movie.
There's a fundraiser. Yep.
Yeah, exactly the same. And then both have like kind of anticlimactic endings where like nothing gets changed about the healthcare system in either movie.
Nope.
So in John Q, at least they're like, oh, well, this is going to spark a national debate about healthcare that like nothing happened. It, like explicitly nothing happens. And the character goes to jail at the end.
Jesus. All right.
So I don't know if you're not familiar with the movie, and listeners, you might not be familiar either. Basically, Denzel Washington's kid needs an emergency operation, and so what he does is ends up holding up the hospital and like has the doctors at gunpoint and like makes it into a hostage situation and demands that the operation happens. Right.
I can see how this is a little beaten over the head, but yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And it's like a little bit like it gets to the point in the movie where he's like, all right, I have one bullet in my gun. I was going to use it to kill myself the whole time. I just need you, the heart surgeon, to take my heart and put it in my bullet. And like, that's basically the premise here. Yeah. That's like, you can see how it's a little bit ham-fisted, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's a good movie. Okay. So at the end, he doesn't get convicted on all of the charges, like attempted murder and whatever else. He gets convicted for kidnapping because he does do kidnapping.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But they're like, don't worry, you only get a few years in prison. It's kind of the message at the end. So like this movie, where at the end, they're kind of just like, all right, well, we'll fix Jessica Biel's problem.
And like her two friends' problems. And that's it.
Yeah, and that's it, and nothing changes, and everyone goes back to their lives.
I mean, isn't that kind of also the point, right? Is that they show that nothing changes, right? But
I guess so, yeah. But it's heavy-handed. Anyway, meets Saw 6.
I stopped after the first Saw, so you might have to catch me up on the whole series.
You know everything you need to know, I think. For the most part.
These puzzles, try to make a choice,
There's puzzles. They try to give you some backstory. There's more backstory. So like John is like the
Saw movie. Come on.
Yeah. The whole reason why he started doing all this stuff, the guy, John, the murder guy,
the puppet guy,
is because healthcare.
Okay.
So they explain that a bunch in Saw 6. I think they do a little bit of it in Saw 2, if I remember correctly. But in Saw 6, there's like extended sequences of him like, this is where it gets weird, but I think correctly placed. And so the Saw 6 part of it for me is kind of a wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Because it is still healthcare based and there is still lots of like arbitrary, like beating you over the head with the healthcare message, but it's like against the insurance companies, which makes me feel better because it's correct.
Saw 6, nailing it, knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. That's right. Instead of taking it out on the doctors, it takes it out on the insurance companies. And so like there's one scene that's like, it's like 5 minutes of the murderer, John guy, like meeting in an office with the CEO of his insurance company somehow. And it's like, it's like explaining to like, goes on like a huge monologue about insurance companies and
to play a game.
The government wants you to think that it's about, making a healthcare decision between a patient and a doctor, and the patient and the doctor want you to think this and that. But like reality, it's not the government, it's not the patient and the doctor, it's the insurance companies that decide everything.
Okay. Get some good exposition.
Exactly. It's way too long. And this movie had, I feel like, also parts that were too long and exposition-y about no reason. And
and also dumb. In this movie also just dragged on stupid jokes that weren't going anywhere. I'm like, I don't get what the point is. All right, let's move on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then at the end, because this is a Saw movie, all the bad people die.
Oh, of course. I mean, right.
Which I wish happened in our movie instead of no consequences. But yeah, that's the crux of it, I guess.
Well, I guess you had one death, Speaker of the House, who won the moon base. So
that's right. A murder.
Yeah, we got a murder actually.
So yeah, there you go. You're right. Both movies also have murders.
Want to pass a bill? Yep.
It's perfect.
Man. All right. Yeah.
So what do you got?
I'm on the complete opposite of the spectrum here. I went way lighter here.
Perfect.
But all right, so I went with it's Dave meets Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Okay.
I feel like I'm taking your route, and this time I feel like
I can't see it yet, but you'll walk me through it.
Yeah, you know the movie Dave, right? Kevin Kline to the two, Sigourney Weaver, right? Mm-hmm. Becomes the president because he looks a lot like him, stuff like this, right?
That's right.
So the president has a heart attack, and they throw him in there or whatever. So, yeah. So that movie, a lot like our movie, is kind of like this unlikely hero character who tries to fix government issues. In Dave, he actually kind of does unrealistically, right? Remember, he balances the budget in one meeting, and they're like, "Hey, there we go. The budget's balanced." And you're like, "That's not how that works. We're still in debt. That's not."
I forgot about that. That's like maybe that's the rise of the current populism movement in the United States. It's because of Dave.
It's because of Dave.
We need an outsider to fix things.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how any of this works.
That's how it works.
Some people are good at being government employees.
Yes, some are. Yeah. Also, he announces his big his big plan of the movie, right? Is the provide every job to every American who wants one, right? Which is a bill that they end up passing at the end of the movie when the other guy takes over president, the good guy, right? Again, Whereas in this movie, she's trying to change the healthcare system, which come on, like Jake Gyllenhaal's character is literally like, he's just literally like, what are you doing? That's crazy. You can't do that. Right. So there's a lot of political shenanigans going on, right? With people in power seeking more of it. Right. So, and Dave, you got the chief of staff, Bob Alexander. He's like trying to make moves, like all these kind of House of Cards type of moves to become president. Like in this movie, it's all about the moon base and that bill and Rep. Hendrickson trying to get herself up to the Speaker of the House. Right.
That's right. So, that's right.
At the core of both movies, it's a love story, kind of, sort of.
I'll give you that. About as much as each other.
It's a stretch. I think Dave, it becomes more of that, but I mean, it's kind of subtle, and they, at the end, they kind of fall for each other, right?
Yeah.
And like really where nobodies are kind of like somewhat important too, somewhat ish. Yep. Yeah. Climax of both movies happens during a session of Congress.
Yep.
Right. And at the end of both movies, all the bad guys get in trouble, right? Well, the good guys escape to their normal lives. Right. At the end of Dave, he just fakes a heart attack and he just sneaks out the back and he becomes back to his normal life where he's now working for DC City Council. Bob Alexander, he gets pulled under all these scandals and stuff like this. This movie, I think I forgot. I think Rep Hendrickson, she gets in trouble, right? And
she gets some comeuppance.
Some stuff. So that's Dave.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, right. Now meets Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Just stick with me here because these movies are actually much more alike than you think.
Both movies have Pee Wee Herman.
So you can wait for this. So that's the obvious one. So Paul Reubens is in both movies. Both are kind of road trip movies where the character's in search for something. Okay. And it's a bit of a stretch because all they do is go from Indiana to DC and that's it. But Pee Wee's search. It's a road trip. Right? Indiana to DC that's a road trip. Pee Wee's in search for his bike and he meets friends along the way that kind of help him. Alice in search for answers about healthcare with her group of friends who kind of help her along the way, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Same thing going there. Early on, Pee Wee is told by someone in power, by the police, that the theft of his bike it's not worth it. It's too minor and too common to deal with. Like this movie, doctors being like, yeah, we can't deal with your stuff because you don't have healthcare. So it's not important to us. So
dismissive.
Ready for this one? The Tequila Bar biker gang.
Okay.
Kind of like the Girl Scouts in this one, the Girl Squads.
Actually,
At first, they're a very angry group of people, but then they fall in with the main characters and help them along their journey when they're needed, right? Biker gang, after he knocks over the motorcycles, whatever, he does a tequila dance. They give him a bike and send him on his way. Girl Squads trying to help out Alice all the way. There's more here. Pee Wee falls in love with a French waitress. Okay. Alice is a waitress who frequently speaks another language. Doesn't speak French, I don't think at all. But
no, but fair enough.
We're going. It's a stretch, but
you're doing great.
There's waitresses there, right? Did you have waitresses? Did you have another one there you were going to throw in?
No.
Okay,
you're doing great.
I know I am. At the end of the Pee Wee movie, his story is adapted into a film, right? Which they all go to the drive-in theater to watch together.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You ready for another deep connection here? James Brolin plays Pee Wee W. Herman. James Brolin plays the Speaker of the House who dies in this movie.
Huh. I forgot James Brolin was in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Yep. That was kind of a bonus one when I was looking up. I was like, oh yeah, nice. And the movie, Pee Wee ends up with Dottie and they take off. This movie, Alice ends up with Birdwell and quote unquote happy.
Very much a happy ending.
Yeah.
So.
That's it.
Wow. Great pitch, buddy.
Done.
Good work, team.
Right? Crashing it. All right. Well, that's that. You want to get into doing this movie now?
You might as well. Yeah. Bear in mind, I watched it on Hulu and I wrote down all the advertisers.
Oh my God.
A lot of Bud Light, a lot of Garlic Farms, a lot of RSV vaccines.
I'm going to turn the
get your RSV vaccines, everyone.
Turn the movie about healthcare. I love it. Bud Light.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna be honest with you. My notes might be a little skim because I was just plowing through this movie. But
perfect.
I also want to say though, like once it gets going, like, and this comes back to like this other director taking over and kind of piecemealing things together, you can feel the scenes just are so jarring and kind of quick and don't move together well. Like the first, act or so is fine, but then it gets like really choppy and kind of all over the place.
Yeah, the movie gets worse as it goes.
And it's really weird the way they shot it. It's kind of like this almost slapsticky, definitely grainy, like they shot on film, but they do a lot of these like Dutch angle shots and these weird angled like camera shots of like close-ups of people's faces. Everything. I was like, why?
Yeah, I think it was like they're like, oh, won't it be funny if we do something that's like really like in your like over the top in your face?
I think
They did that with everything. Like all of the delivery of all the lines from every actor is like not sincere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like I know what you mean, and they do that, and it annoyed me.
But we kick off with our production companies, FilmRise, Lost 50s Films, and this crazy inkblot graphic for KJM Media. I looked them all up. They're all, Lost 50s, I couldn't find anything about them, but FilmRise is pretty legit.
Haven't we done a FilmRise movie at some point?
I feel like we have, because they're New York City-based film and TV studio streaming network, which has become one of the largest independent providers of content and ad-supported streaming platforms. Like, what?
Definitely.
So I'm sure we've done something with them. KJM Media is this guy, Kia Jam, and they've done a bunch of legit movies. So
I was gonna say a bunch of legit movies though. Like my favorite movie, Lord of War,
I know. I mean, they're just they're just providing money to productions, but still, I mean, you need money to make things happen.
Yep. Where'd that money come from?
Now that's it. And why did they keep running out of it? But that's not their problem. That's a director problem. So.
Yeah.
And then we get immediately a title card a few years ago in a small Indiana town, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it's just the opening. We have the Mr. Sandman, kind of feels like a 1950s vibe. You got a classic car show at the
Mr. Dean's footage.
Yeah, Mr. Dean's footage, yes. Ice cream truck driving. Like, what are you kidding me? And we had roller skating, Jessica Biel skating around, delivering food, right, to the customers.
Like the trailer.
She's the best, she's clearly the best skater or whatever there. And the manager's like, that's how you do business. He's got the cigar. And it's very oddly.
So stupid.
Yeah, it was kind of slapsticky. Like she would knocked over some guy and was like skating under people. And I was like, okay, but that disappears. Like, I don't know. It's so strange.
Yeah. And I know we're not ameliorating yet, but cut this whole scene. It doesn't matter. It doesn't set up the character, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just a weird setup start. So then we meet she drops off food to Beverly D'Angelo, which is her mom.
Yep.
It's her mom and her dad in the car there. And then we meet one of her the sidekick waitresses there, right? Kind of a friend who ends up dating Scott later on for a bit, but anyways.
Yep. He's so awesome. What a dreamboat. Because Scott shows up at her workplace.
Yeah, so James Marsden, Scott, pulls up on his motorbike, looking cool, walking up to her.
Notice anything different is what he says to her immediately. And she's like, no, but it's his sunglasses, which are
Oakley's, obviously.
Oakley's. Yeah. But he complains about having to pay for them. He's like, the department should really cover my Oakleys. It's part of doing work, and it's a whole thing. It's commentary is something.
Yeah, some lines are okay. There was one or two I think I actually laughed out loud. I don't know if I'll remember which ones they were, but there was one or two I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. And then he's like, I'm gonna take you out to fancy dinner tonight at the Fancy Gondola.
That's right.
So now
we're at the best restaurant in town, apparently. Best restaurant in Alfredo in Smith County, as we're about to find out.
So then, this is where it's kind of goofy. So he's like, "Hey, I'm taking you out to dinner tonight to Fancy Gondola," and we just cut right to the restaurant, and they're still wearing their outfits. He's still got his police uniform on. She's still got her outfit. I don't know what the word is for this, but it's they're playing on something.
I know exactly what you mean,
and it's just
it's like a Truman Show kind of almost. Everything's too perfect. It's like small town.
Yeah.
1950s. You're right. You're exactly right.
And it's maybe that's what they're trying to do is that juxtaposition of everything's perfect. Everything should be fine. You get a nail in your head. Oh, now I can't get healthcare. Now everything's not right. Now everything isn't fine. It's
exactly.
Okay. I get it. I see it. I see what you're trying to do, but
yeah. So
then this is where they're having dinner and we've got the guy nail gunning something, which by the trailer trash, we're like, I hope this is kind of explained a little bit. It's not. It's
even worse than we thought.
And it's so annoying. And he's just this loud nail gun that just keeps going. And I was like, this is just so weird. What's going on?
Yeah. And they address it, they call it out. James Marsden sitting there being like, I don't know, the ambiance is a little nail gunny for my taste.
And what is he nail gunning anyways? It's the gondola hanging up above them or something. What are you doing? Right. And he's like, why is this happening right now? The maitre d' comes over and he's like, oh yes, sir. He's like, how long is this going to take? He's like, 25 minutes. Why are you doing this in the middle of dinner?
But I don't know, that guy was kind of funny. And I know what you mean, where also the beginning of the movie is not terrible. I don't like the way that they're setting things up here, but also the best lines in the movie are delivered probably in this scene. Yeah.
And Scott is clearly upset. And then he he proposes to her. Yeah, gives it a ring, and then
which that's one of my favorite lines that is in the movie probably when she accepts the ring. She's like, "Oh, the ring is too tight. I mean, it's perfect, and my finger is too big."
Yeah, like
that's funny.
Yeah, it's a little zinger there for like this idyllic world you're trying to set up.
Right.
So okay, all right, not terrible, but and then Scott's still upset, and then this guy just falls on her and nail guns her right in the head.
Yeah, and she says, "Ow." So then from the trailer, he takes her to the hospital, and it's the whole surgery scene, right? She could be brain damaged for life. Arlene comes in, shuts the whole thing down. She's got no insurance. We can't do this.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of funny too. We got Bill Hader as a doctor, and like as soon as he's like, "All right, cut it off. Thanks, Arlene." They pull down their masks and they just immediately start eating.
Yeah,
he's like, I can't take. I'm sick and tired of these uninsured 25-year-olds coming in here for their services. It's kind of funny.
Which again makes it funny because part of the Affordable Care Act was you can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26.
Yeah.
Like, well, here, check one off in the irrelevant box.
Oh my god! So then we get like a bunch of exposition, like how much surgery gave me is $150,000, right? We get a bunch of exposition about how shitty the healthcare system is as they wheel her out of the hospital. So it's like the nurse and Bill Hader, and like it's just them really setting the heavy-handedness tone of like, yeah, we get it,
and also doubling down on that's the other theme that was at the beginning that they kind of lost towards the end too, is some of like the misogyny stuff that was like, supposed to be a criticism of that. Like,
yes,
like Bill Hader talking was like, well, she's not going to be a fun wife. She might just be drooling everywhere.
Yeah. Again, like that 1950s, like the wife should be, my finger's not perfect. Or, the ring's perfect. My finger's too big. Like,
right. Exactly.
But then they outline all the stuff that can go wrong with her, right? She could be having mood swings and be angry and lash out and stuff like this. And
they do a whole classic, well, maybe I can finally have orgasms. And Scott's like, I already told you 50-60% of women don't have orgasms. Like, you should know better.
Kind of funny. And then he's also, by the way, that's a running joke with him throughout, is him doing like percentages of like things working out or not working out, which it kind of loses its steam after a while. But
it's another one that like they could have done so much better. It started off kind of funny and then they lost it.
They just totally lost it. And then mom and dad show up and they're like, they talk about ways to pay for the surgery, and like, it's like, it would cost $150,000. Like, we don't have that. And there's more conversation like, well, we could take out a second mortgage, and like, we've already done that, or refinancing a house and stuff. It's like, we've already done that. And
well, we gave you that choice when you turned 21. Like, you could either have a credit card that dad would pay $500 a year on, or you could stay on our insurance, and you pick the credit card.
Great.
Yeah.
Blame it on the youth for making poor choices. So then they're like, well, they decide to have a fundraiser. Mom's like, I got an idea. We can do a fundraiser, right?
Exactly. And that's when I get Modelo commercials. And also, listeners, I watched this movie at like 7 a.m. on Sunday. So I'm like not in the mood for a Modelo commercial.
No. Start your morning off right. Modelo.
Mm-hmm. Not a sponsor so far.
So then we're at the fundraiser party, right?
Yep.
And then we get the shot from the trailer of Kirstie Alley like talking to her, poking her head, and how to get that nail out. And Kirstie Alley, I guess, is some weird like alley doctor. Like, what is she like?
She's an animal doctor. She's a vet. Like,
that's what it was. Okay. It's like,
she's
I think I missed that. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it's stupid. Well, I'm so thankful that Kirstie Alley is in this movie for all 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She got like 2 scenes. She got this, and then she got like another one for like 30 seconds. And it's like, okay, that's good.
Thank God.
And then we meet our other supporting characters here, our B-story characters. We meet Reverend Norm, and we meet Keyshawn, Tracy Morgan, and Kevin Fuller.
Where our Reverend is, he took some experimental dick pills that didn't work out.
And he shows everyone, right?
Yep.
Everyone's going like, okay. Oh, God.
And Keyshawn's issue is a prolapsed anus.
Yes.
Which is something I think you don't just live with.
Yeah, probably I don't know. I don't think I want to live with that, but I don't think you do.
Yeah. You probably turn it right side in at some point.
Yeah, we're not. And they're still doing this like Dutch angle thing where the camera is like still tilted like sideways, making thing everyone like I'm like, everyone's like, why? Okay, that's fine.
It's like very Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes, like purposely trying to be a little awkward, right? So then Scott, he tries to round up the people to like with the microphone and try to get everyone together to like donate some money, whatever. And then the mic just starts whining and screaming and everyone leaves, like giving a bunch of feedback. And he's just like,
is also funny because he's like, Alice, the speakers aren't wired right. I specifically asked for the speakers to be wired correctly. She's like, I'm so sorry. I don't know.
So then we cut to them trying to be like, okay, what else? You know, what else can we do? We're at the dinner table, like discussing other ideas, and like, well, we have to work hard. And this is where we get a quick flashback of Alice flipping out a customers like off in the trailer, right? And speaking, I think it's all Portuguese, right? That's all she speaks from all these flashback scenes.
Portuguese, I believe. And
Portuguese. Yeah,
and she gets fired.
Yep. And then we get the Kirstie Alley animal surgery on the couch scene. She's just gonna do some shots of whiskey and we're gonna pull that nail right out.
Yep.
It's kind of a long played out scene that I was like,
it's not funny.
No, it's not. I think I get why they were trying to go for it, but it's like too long and it just doesn't land.
Yeah, like at all. They tried to turn it into like a chaos, like a funny through chaos, and it just doesn't work.
No, definitely not. And then Alice flips out and just trashes the place. She's just smashing everything.
Which, there's like a couple of funny bits about Scott being like, you got to treat her like an unpredictable gunman. Like, who knows what you could do right now? And it's a whole thing. And she makes a good argument about Scott complaining about the government not paying for his Oakleys. So like, why can't they pay for my brain surgery?
Yeah.
And then basically Scott ends it with, I'm ending our engagement because odds are good. You're turning into a mess. I don't want to be here for it. So
yeah, it's total chaos. Yeah. And he's just, that's it. And then he walks out.
Keyshawn chases after him and her parents say, you can stay with us for a little while.
And we get a title card 3 weeks later.
And we get Keyshawn and the Reverend showing up just to see how she's doing, but she's depressed.
It's all the shot from the trailer. She's depressed. She's dropping cereal on herself.
Yep.
And she's like, "Oh, what if we go for a walk?" And we get another like quick cut flashback to her like walking down the street, being angry, smashing mailboxes, scaring children.
Yep. Sorry, I guess we didn't get the reveal about the prolapse anus until now.
Pops up here. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, we got a bunch of Kurt Fuller talking about his dick in the last scene, and then this one was when we talked about lifting weights and
right. Okay, yeah. You got to give everyone their own time to talk about their problems.
Apparently.
So she sees a TV ad for Howard Beardwell, right?
For Congress. Yep.
Yeah, that's our Jake Gyllenhaal, young congressman trying to make a difference. He's shaking the kids and kissing babies,
shaking babies and
shaking babies, kissing hands, however it works, right? And he's like, if you got a problem, you come talk to me. I want to hear from you, right?
It's like kind of funny because they make it out like he's like a very it's like the most vanilla possible Congress commercial you can think of, where he's just
yes,
let's turn our problems into ideas. I'm here to work for you, the people.
Yeah,
and like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Then Scott shows up and he's like, you can't fix a crazy brain with crazy ideas. And she wants to go to Washington. She's like, I'm going to go talk to him. That's my guy. He's going to help me. He's going to help me solve this problem because he just said, let's turn a problem into an idea. So,
and he says that's a stupid idea.
Yeah. Scott, I actually just came back for the belt sander. I was
checking to see if you got it fixed, which obviously you didn't. Thankfully the Reverend and Keyshawn say, well, we'll go with you. We support you. We're going to all get our problem solved together.
And they hit the road.
Scott leaves and I still want to talk if you get your brain fixed. Yep. let's maybe keep in touch.
Keeping all of his options open, all of his avenues open.
And then they drive off. Road trip.
Yeah, road trip. We're going to DC. So we get a Washington DC transition shots of all the key buildings down there, right? Yep. And they go into, I don't know what building they get
Capitol,
into.
I think.
Capitol, yeah, right? Capitol.
Yep.
And chaos immediately ensues as she like walks through the metal detector and it goes off and the security goes like, whoa, lady, what are you doing? She's like, it's okay. It's just this thing. And she pulls out the nail gun. I'm like, why is this happening?
Yep.
And then all the stuff from the trailer, Tracy Morgan's basically just hitting on a security guard.
Yep.
And okay, wow, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, in my community, this is how quickly it happens. Okay.
Yeah. Except for then they do like, I don't know. I kind of feel like they just kind of like Tracy Morgan was probably just like, I can only be in a small percentage of this movie because they write him out basically.
I was literally going to say this felt like, that's an easy way to get rid of a character for a little while. Yeah. So, because then if you have him around, what is he going to do? And they're like, what would he do if he's still lingering around? So let's just go have him hit on the security guard and they disappear and go Benihana's. Okay.
Yeah.
Solve that one.
They're like, well, we'll keep the Reverend around. Maybe we need someone to explain the movie.
They do it to him though too, like
at some point, yeah.
At some point, right? So,
yep.
Totally. So her and the Reverend, they go into Birdwell's office, and kind of somewhat of some moments of potential funny here, but they're trying to get into Birdwell's office, and they're like, no, he's busy, and he's like on the phone talking to his mom.
Get an appointment. That takes 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. Well, he's sitting there having a conversation on the phone. He's like, sex is overrated. Like, I'd rather be golfing. Sorry, Mom, I gotta go.
I gotta go.
Classic.
So then, like, Catherine Keener shows up, right, and Paul Reubens, Pee Wee, and we get like kind of like the
assistant.
The crux of the plot here, where like they want the moon base, and she's like, they're making fun of basically immigration laws and general government politics and like how this works, right?
It's like kind of a thread that is a throwaway a bit, but that's when our other representative that's like on the same team as Pam and Paul Reubens' character is like, they got Shakira to do some kind of promotion for the moon base, but they're like, well, we don't really have Shakira, but like we said, Shakira is going to be there. And that'll come up a couple times later, but it's dumb.
Yeah, it keeps coming up.
I was hoping Shakira was going to be in the movie.
Yeah, she's not. No, so don't get too excited. So then they kick the Reverend out, and they kick out. They don't kick the Reverend. They kick Alice out, and the Reverend's still standing there. I love how the guy just turns. He's like, "Why are you still here?"
Yep.
Okay, it's one of our funnier lines. And then we do have the girl squaw's cookie for the moon base, right? Do we get that here? I think.
I think that's the bit about Shakira. Like, she shows up for like
that's the whole thing. Okay,
like, you promised a Shakira, and they're like, yeah, you get Shakira.
Yeah, again, this whole scene was like, just felt like it was too drawn out. Like, it was like, again, trying to do that ad nauseum thing where it's not working. So
exactly. But and this is when, like you said, they like write Kurt Fuller off. He's like, oh, my dick's killing me.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, you go back to the hotel and rest.
Yeah, it's like that.
We'll do the next scene without you.
That's how you solve that problem, right? Doesn't she try to go back in? She drops all of her stuff or something. She like, they close the door on her, and she like spills everything or something, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because then she's picking up her stuff, and she sees Birdwell come around the corner, and she stands up and like goes right up to him and like shaking his hand too long. That whole awkward thing, and like they have a little bit of a moment, right?
Yeah, you have very soft hand skin. Well, I'm a roller skater. Like, okay,
right. whatever works for you. And this is like scenes from the trailer, and this is they also started doing this randomly like a couple times, and this is when she actually mentions like the healthcare, and they do like a record scratch in the background, and they do this a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's new. Okay, I guess heavy-handed. So all the scene from the trailer where he's like whoa, I can't. That's you're crazy. That's
a bummer issue.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just a freshman. Like, there's people here. He goes on this big rant about he can't get anything done. There's people over here who tells me what to do. Everyone here is my boss. I'm too low on the scale here to like get anything done. So as he's going in this rant, she gets hit in the head with a guy carrying an eagle statue in the back of the head.
That's correct. It's as stupid as it sounds. And that's what triggers her to have more symptoms from the nail, apparently, of she just like has to have sex with Jake Gyllenhaal right now. And so then we do a sex montage.
It's a very slapsticky one where they got the camera spinning, all you see is their feet and their legs tossed up. They sneak into a room and ripping down posters. We got the old Bill Clinton ball grab, paint, whatever, painting rip. That sounds like it makes no sense, but that's what happened.
Trust us, listeners.
Trust us. Jesus,
that's what happened.
Couldn't even spit it out. I was like, this is so stupid.
And it kind of ends with her being like, orgasms do exist. Yay.
So then they're kind of going back and forth here. And this is where he kind of sets it up where he can get the moon base if, he can help her get her bill passed, right?
Exactly. He's like, if you come talk about the moon base, I'll give you some healthcare stuff. All you got to do is like promote the moon base by remembering it keeps us safe and not blown up and on the moon.
Yes, because that's a running like joke about the moon base. It's like, oh, we need this for our military because it keeps us safe and doesn't get us blown up.
Not blown up.
Not blown up.
That's right. And on the moon.
And on the moon. Man, so close but so far away. Yeah. So then that's it. That's the end of part one, right? We're gonna hold it right there because our heroes have met.
You could call them that, I guess.
The rom of the rom-com has happened, or is happening, has begun to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever, something like that. Anyways, thanks for listening. We'll be back Thursday with part 2. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at SysMeetsHour, TMT Pod on Twitter. wherever you listen, subscribe. And if you've got friends, share with them.
That's right. And share with enemies and strangers as well by leaving us a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, 5 stars would be nice. Maybe a comment if you're feeling generous. Or if you're feeling particularly generous and can even be computer generated, send us an email, a nice long one. And we'll read it in Trailer Trash like we always promise and never have emails. So it's thismeansthat@gmail.com. Or go to the website. Forgot everything we just said. You want more information about the podcast. You want to buy a t-shirt. You're asking yourself, oh, geez, you know what? I love this podcast. I love staying until the very end of the episode so I can listen to whatever Russ and Jared are plugging. Like, oh, I got to go buy Russ's book, Host, wherever I buy books. Or
wherever I buy books, yep.
I have to go to itsthismeansthat.com and buy a t-shirt from the boys about their podcast.
Yeah.
I get it. I say those things too. And you can do that. Be part of the change.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the future.
That's right. Go to itsthismeansthat.com and you'll find all of it.